Carolina Rivera Escamilla is an educator, writer, poet, actress, documentarian, and cultural community events organizer based in Los Angeles. Her talk is titled Art, Language, and Exile, the act of composing written language in the vernacular of one's adversaries.
But when I was in elementary school, we have a little book that we study. All the children in El Salvador, they get this little book, and it's the syllabario, and it's about learning your A, B, C, D, and all that, and there is stories. And at the end of this little book, from first grade to sixth grade, actually, there is something in the back that it says something like, Spain is our mother, our motherland, and we should be thank you for many things. And it says, because they mention all the countries from Latin America, and that we learn at the end that when we learn how to read, right? And they in the book says that all those countries from Latin America are the children of Spain. And so that's the kind of thing that we learn from first grade to fifth grade, right? When we're learning to read. And it says that we should be thank you because we are living in a land that they give us, and also the language that they give us. And also it's saying that, the whole thing that they found out, that they find us and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the thing that you learn when you are little, right? So by the time I was in high school, I went into the art school and I studied theater. And it was the only one art school in El Salvador. There were no other art school. There's only one. And it was the most revolutionary school in El Salvador. So when the Civil War came and with the whole thing, political stuff happened, that was the school that all the students were protesting, and I was one of them. And I was doing political theater. And so, because I was involved in political theater, and my brother also is a painter, and also a muralist, and also he went to that school. So we got in trouble, and there was, so many students from junior high school were protesting on the streets and all that. So that's what I went into exile in Canada. So once I was in Canada, I was like, learning, they integrate you into the culture, and I went to study English because that is Canada. But at the first class that we had, I remember they taught us history of how Canada came into, right? And again, you learn the whole thing about thank you to Canada, thank you to England for giving us this country and all that. And I'm like, that reminds me, the little book from the elementary school about saying thank you to Spain, right?
Marjorie Faulstich Orellana is professor in the Graduate School of Education and Information Studies at UCLA. Her talk is titled What We Could Have Learned from the COVID-19 Pandemic and Maybe Still Can.
Well, during COVID, everything was made strange. We were all ethnographers. We were all living a great social science experiment in which we didn't know what was going to happen from one day to the next. So we quickly launched this study. I want to credit my team, Priscilla Liu, and also Sofia Angeles. We worked together to recruit a diverse cross-section, 35 families from across the U.S., striving for as much racial, cultural, ethnic, immigration, class variation as we could. We tried to get political variation, that was harder, and to record diaries, to either write or speak about their experiences as the pandemic unfolded. And they kept diaries, we sent prompts, they sent photos, they sent stories, and we analyzed their words in a number of ways during the pandemic. And now 5 years later, we're looking back on those stories and saying, let's hear what our participants had to say. What were they thinking in May 2020? What were they thinking as the progress? And what could we learn from it? Because most of the lessons of the COVID are about what we got wrong and what kids didn't learn and how kids fell behind and what schools should have done that better. And that's fine. There's a need for that. But there's also what about the positive lessons? What did we learn that we could build upon if we really wanted to? So I think the title I put for this talk was COVID Diaries, What We Could Have Learned and Maybe Still Can.
Dr. Michelle A.L. Villagran is an associate professor at San Jose State University's School of Information. Her talk is titled, Ever Wonder How Culture Shows Up in Research?
So this year, the project I really focused on librarians. I wanted to know from them, what do you think about cultural aspects in your research? Do you address that? What does cultural competence mean to you? What does cultural intelligence mean to you? What is cultural humility? Do you know these terms? And how do you prepare yourself and the researchers or the individuals you're working with? So the focus of the project is on research teams, not just yourself, so you as a component in the research teams, and the research process. There's a whole process we all go through, even if it's informal research. And so this year has really focused on phase 1. So I'm going to talk about the phases now of the project. So this year has really looked at the practitioner. So your local librarians that you visit, to find out from them, what do you think about this whole concept? And I want to develop a new framework. There is a framework already on cultural competence in libraries, but it's not related to research. It's for diversity and services within libraries. So serving immigrant populations, LGBTQ, all the unique populations we have, if we want to think about just LA alone. Which is great, we need that, but research has to tie into it. Where's research? And then secondly, next year with the sabbatical, I received a fellowship. So I will be working with cultural intelligence experts internationally. It's a whole suite of 12 people, so a big group, and they're all interculturalists. So they're not in my space. I mean, I also do intercultural work, but they're not librarian, practitioner, LAS. And so with them, I want them to vet my framework that I've come up with from the librarians. What do you think? Does this sound right for cultural aspects? Are we really looking at the right things? Or should we? What else do we need to include? And I want this to be not Western focused, not US centric or North America. I want this to be a global application. So then from that'll be next year. This is a year long with the sabbatical. And then the next year, I'm putting this all together into an open access course. What that means, it's free. Anybody can access it. And you can do exercises, activities. You can apply it to your domain. If you're in engineering, if you're in linguistics, if you're in any discipline, you can apply it. And then I'm putting everything together in a book. So I don't have my book yet, but my book is coming.